I'm going to show you how to how to build a VM in the Google Cloud and then add uh, a Dockerized container for LoadRunner load generator into that cloud VM, and then how we can add that to LoadRunner for your performance testing. So these are the high level steps that we have to do today. First, you should have a account with Google Cloud. So with that free account, you can set up VMs, and Google is currently giving free VMs for up to 1 year, depending on the size of your VM instance. And then you need to open the firewall port 54345. So this is the default port which the controller uses to talk to the load generator. And then we'll first create a Linux VM. In this case, let's say, so we'll create a Ubuntu VM in the GCP, and then we'll check that we are able to access that VM through SSH client. And then after the VM setup is done, then we'll install Docker in the VM, and then we'll install the load generator Docker image, and then we'll start the Docker container on the same port 54345, and then we'll see how to add that cloud load generator to the controller. So let's get started. So first I'm going to Google Cloud. So you need to set up your account for the first time, and then you need to go to console. And in the console you will see go to compute engine, VM instances. You can create a new instance. Let's say LG 2, and I'm going to keep the default specification, one virtual CPU with 3.75 gigs of memory, and then I'm going to keep the default selection. I can change it to Windows Server or some other servers, but I'm going to keep it. I'll just make it Ubuntu. I'm going to select Ubuntu. Select. Now I'm going to create the VM. So the VM has been created, and so I am assuming that this you have to do it by yourself. This needs your credit card details, so I'm not going to show how to create a GCP account. This one we have to do. This one, the third step, we have already done this. The firewall port we have to open. So let's see how to open the firewall. So you need to go to the VPC settings, virtual private network, and then go to firewall rules. I have already added the port 54345, so you can just go here, create firewall rule, and then just give it some name, LG 254345. You need to keep the default selection ingress and allow. You can select all instances in the network, so which will give open that port for all the VMs in your cloud account, and then in the IP, the source IP for which it will allow access to port 54345. We want all the ports to be allowed, so we'll put 00000/0. This means it will allow all the source IPs, and this is important that we have to give port 54345. So after this is done, just click create. I'm not going to create because I have already created. So I'll just show you what I have created. The same things that I showed you. This is the name I have given, and then there's the ingress type of firewall and the IP ranges that I already showed you, and this is the port that I just told you, TCP 54345. So our port opening is already done. Port opening is already done. Now next thing is we have to see uh, whether we were able to access the VM through SSH client or not. So I'm using a MacBook, so I have one application called Termius, which will give me SSH access to the VM. So what I'm going to do is, so using Putty or some other application, you can create a SSH key. So that SSH key will have a private and public key and private key. So the public key we have to add it to the VM in the cloud. The private key we need to use in the Termius client, which will give us access to the VM. So I have already created the key. You can go Google how to create RSA key in Mac or Windows. Even Putty client also has the same feature. So I have already created the public and the private key. So what I'm going to do is I'll just copy the public GCP key. Okay, so this is the public key. I'm going to just copy the public key. Then I'm going to my VM, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'll just edit the VM, and then if you scroll down, there will be, yes, so this is the place that we have to add the SSH key. This is the public part of the SSH key. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove the machine name and just keep the ID. So this is the ID which you would have given during your SSH key generation. So what I'll do is, after putting all the details, I'll just click save. So what we have just done is, so whoever has the matching private key corresponding to this public key, so he will be able to access this VM. So now what we have to do is, let's go back. I'll just copy this public IP here. So assuming you are doing this in Mac, so let's go to the Terminus app and let's create a new host. So we'll need some details, like we'll need some public IP and let's name this to LG2, GCP LG2, and the IP address and my username is Jenna, and the keys I'll just add the corresponding private key that I have created. Make sure that your private key and the public key that you already added into your VM instance, so the corresponding private key only you are adding here. And now let's say save the details. Now okay, so it's logged in here. So what we have to do is go to the root, and so we are now in the root folder. So now we have to follow some instructions. So this part is done. We have successfully able to connect to the VM using SSH client. Now this part, step 5, set up Docker in VM, this is what we have to do. Now let's go back to LoadRunner installation guide. Let's search Docker. So there is some set of commands, like if you have to deploy Docker in Windows or Linux, so this is what we have to do. So because this is Windows, so I'm looking for instructions for Linux. Yeah, so this is what we have to do. Install load generator, install load generator, silent. Yeah, so this is what we are looking at. Deploy Dockerized load generators on a Linux. So what we have to do is, first we have to before installing this, we need to install Docker in the Linux instance. So what we have to do is Docker Ubuntu Docker install. So I'll just go to and download some. There is a simple command, so I'll just update the VM instance to make sure it has the latest updates and everything. So this has updated my VM instance. Now next is I have to install Docker. So the simple command is this one. Press yes. So once the Docker installation is completed, we have to start the daemon, the Docker daemon. So this is completed. Now let's check the status. So there are no images containers currently running in this instance. Next is we have to start the Docker. Yeah. Next is we have to download the Docker image from cloud. So this is the command to download the Docker Linux version load generator. So I'll just copy till here because my compatible LoadRunner version is 12.62. So I'll just copy this command up to and then just type my version number 12.62. So I'm currently my controller is on 12.62, so I want to download LG version 12.62. So this command will download the Docker image which has the load generator in it. So this command is downloading the Docker image. So in our instruction set we installed Docker, so that is fine. Now this part, step 6, this is currently in progress. Yeah, so this part is completed, it has downloaded. So once the download is completed, next is we have to start the container, start the image. So to start, let's just copy these instructions. This part is completed. Done. No, sorry. So this is the command. L 12.62. So just bear in mind that this command will start the Docker image which has the load generator. So basically there is something called a port binding. So there is one port on which the actual software runs on the Docker platform, but that port number is hidden to external world. So we need to map another port number which is exposed to the external world. Using that port number, it talks to the Docker image. So what we have to do is, so because 54345 is the default port on which the controller talks to the load generator, so we'll also make the same port which the external systems can use, I mean the controller can use to talk to the load generator. So I'll just copy that command. Yes. So now it's running. So let's check ps docker ps. So yeah, so you see this is running. So the port binding is the internal Docker port is 54345 and the VM port is also 54345 on which the Docker image is running. Just to see what is running on port 1. So you see 54345, it's a Docker proxy. So where our Docker image is running for the load generator. So so this part is completed. We have successfully able to run the load generator on the Docker. This part is also completed. We have started the Docker on port 54345, and the last part is this is what we have to do. Finally we have to connect the load generator to the controller. So I'll just go to my personal controller. So if you click this one, so this is where we add the load generators. Now let's click add, and then I need the IP. So this is my IP address, and then I select Linux, click OK, and now this is what I have to do. I have to click connect. Yeah, so see, the status is ready now, which means it was successfully able to establish connectivity with the cloud load generator. Now you can create your scenario as per your requirement and distribute the load over the cloud. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have questions. I'll try to clarify as much as possible. Thank you. Bye.